right, NAFO fellas, and welcome to Ukraine Today. We're coming to you somewhat live from the NAFO Langley fake AI news desk. I'm Wayne.
And I'm Susie. Just a quick reminder for everyone listening, the stories we're covering today are based on the latest reports we have, but they do remain unverified officially.
That's right. We're aiming to give you some in-depth reporting on the key developments coming out of Ukraine right now.
And the main focus, unfortunately, has to be the situation in Kyiv after that huge Russian missile strike on Thursday, the 24th.
Yeah, the news there is just grim. The death toll tragically has gone up. It's now at 12 reported killed.
And 90 injured. 90 is a staggering number.
And adding to that heartbreak, we learned the 10th body they recovered from the rubble. It was a 17-year-old boy.
Just awful. It really brings home the human cost, doesn't it? The UN humanitarian coordinator for Ukraine, Matthias Schmale, he strongly condemned the attack.
Which is expected, but, it raises that constant question. The condemnation is there, but what's the tangible effect on stopping these?
Exactly. And it wasn't just that one massive strike. The night before that, the Kyiv region, specifically near Bucha, got hit by Russian drones.
Right. Reports there mentioned damage to, 6 high-rise buildings?
Yeah, 6 high-rises, 8 shops, even an educational institution. It really paints a picture of, sustained attacks targeting civilian areas.
And you see the immediate fallout. Over 40 families just in Kyiv's Sviatoshynskyi district have already applied for assistance.
40 families already needing help. Shows the immediate crisis these attacks create. People losing their homes, needing basic support.
They're calling it Hell's Night in Kyiv. And when you hear the numbers, around 70 missiles, nearly 150 drones launched by Russia.
It's hard to argue with that description. Yeah. Initially, 8 deaths were confirmed right there in Kyiv, and rescue operations were still going on at 2 specific buildings.
And Zelensky's first report painted an even wider picture of the damage across the country from that single night.
He mentioned more than 80 wounded nationwide and 9 killed initially.
Ukraine did claim they downed a significant number, 48 missiles and 64 drones. Even if approximate, those numbers show the sheer scale of Russia's attack.
Foreign Minister Sybiha was very clear in his response. He said these attacks show just blatant disrespect for any peace efforts.
And that the pressure needs to be squarely on Moscow, a firm line from Kyiv.
Definitely. Then there was that really significant statement from Zelensky, though it's still noted as unverified.
About the North Korean missile.
Exactly. Allegedly used in that deadly Kyiv strike. He called it proof of a, quote, criminal alliance between Russia and Pyongyang.
If that gets confirmed. Wow, that could really shift the international dynamics, couldn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It adds a whole new layer. More calls for sanctions, potentially isolating both countries further. Big questions about weapons sources.
And you see how it hits people personally. There's a story about Lyudmila Kapatsi, 75 years old, in Kyiv. She and her daughter barely escaped.
And apparently it really solidified their distrust in Trump's proposed peace plan. It brings geopolitics right down to the individual level.
Seems like others share that feeling. Boris Johnson came out and directly criticized Trump's plan after the attack.
Yeah, he questioned what Ukraine actually gets out of it after resisting for so long. Highlights the skepticism about plans seen as rewarding aggression.
Macron, in France, also spoke out strongly, reaffirmed support for Ukraine's sovereignty, territorial integrity,
and aimed his anger clearly at Putin. Shows that core European support remains solid.
Now, interestingly, Trump himself put out a statement on Truth Social.
Oh, what did he say?
Said he's not happy with the strikes on Kyiv, called it not necessary and very bad timing, and then directly addressed Putin. Vladimir, stop.
Huh. That's quite direct. More so than usual, maybe. But how does that square with his other comments?
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? It feels like a mixed message. He condemns this, but still says both sides want peace and need to negotiate.
Right. And then there was that comment about Crimea, saying nobody is asking Ukraine to recognize it as Russian, but then questioning why they didn't fight harder for it 11 years ago.
Yeah, that's the statement that kind of ignores the whole context of the annexation back then. Probably doesn't land well in Kyiv.
I'd imagine not. Okay, shifting gears a bit to the military picture. What are we hearing there?
Ukrainian Commander-in-Chief Sviatoshynskyi made a pretty big claim. He said Russian losses just since the start of this year have hit nearly 155,000 soldiers.
Wow. 155,000 since January. Of course, these numbers are always hard to verify independently, but it speaks to the sheer intensity of the fighting.
And Ukrainian intel is also reporting that a Russian Su-30SM fighter jet apparently burned down on the ground.
Where was that?
At a military airfield in Rostov-on-Don inside Russia. If that's confirmed, it's a significant loss for them, a sophisticated jet.
Definitely. And on the ground, Ukraine's Signum unit is claiming success in the Lyman sector.
Destroyed 3 Russian APCs with their crews, according to their reports. Again, Ukrainian claims, but suggests ongoing tactical engagements.
Mm-hmm. And the general staff in Kyiv, they put out their cumulative total loss figure for Russia since February 2022.
What's the latest number?
Now stands at 945,330 troops allegedly lost, including, they claim, 1,060 just in the past day.
Huge numbers. They also repeated the claim of downing those 48 missiles and 64 drones overnight.
Okay, let's turn to the humanitarian side and war crimes allegations. There's an update on the journalist, Victoria Roshchena.
The one who died in Russian captivity.
Yes. The Prosecutor General's office says the cause of death can't be determined right now because of the condition of her body.
That's deeply disturbing. Raises serious questions about her treatment.
It really does.
Yeah.
And alongside that, there are these alarming reports. The Kremlin is allegedly planning to deport another 50,000 Ukrainian children.
Deport them from where?
From the occupied Donetsk region, supposedly sending them to Russia under the guise of a vacation.
A vacation? That's just, These actions have been widely condemned as potential war crimes already.
Absolutely. And President Zelensky is actively trying to counter this. He personally gave a list of 400 abducted children to South Africa's President Ramaphosa.
Seeking help in getting them back.
Exactly. Trying to leverage international partnerships to address this critical issue.
And the details around Victoria Roshchena's death, the journalist, they're just awful.
Yeah, her death was confirmed back in October 2024, but her body wasn't returned until February 2025.
Why the delay?
Reports suggest delays related to identification, apparently insisted upon by her father. And now the state of her remains complicates everything.
The sheer scale of destruction to civilian life continues. Reports from Kharkiv.
Over 70 buildings damaged.
Yes, multi-story and private buildings hit in another Russian night attack. Just relentless pounding of civilian areas.
In Kyiv region, too, hit by a missile strike. Damaged a multi-story building, 9 private houses there. Shows the reach of these attacks.
We also heard reports of explosions overnight, April 23rd, in occupied Crimea.
Any details?
Limited, but suggestions of a possible strike at an airfield indicates continued activity in the occupied zones.
And more direct attacks on smaller communities, too. Ryazne village in Sumy region hit by guided bombs.
Injuring 3 people there.
And a woman wounded in a drone attack in the Mykolaiv region in the Kutrubska community.
Yeah.
Just constant danger for civilians near the lines.
We mentioned the 40 families in Kyiv needing aid, the damage in Kharkiv. It just highlights the massive ongoing humanitarian need.
Mm-hmm. And the rising death toll in Kyiv, Zelensky's report of over 80 wounded, 9 killed nationwide. The human cost is stark.
The reports from Crimea, the downed missiles and drones, the air war remains intense.
And you have voices like Lenia Umarova, the Crimean Tatar freed from captivity, saying recognizing Russian control of Crimea legitimizes crime. A powerful statement against territorial concession.
Yeah. So the overall toll, just in the past day, according to reports, 13 killed, at least 97 injured across Ukraine from Russian attacks.
Despite Ukraine claiming significant intercepts, those 64 drones and 48 missiles downed.
Zelensky actually had to cut short his visit to South Africa because of that mass strike.
But he still emphasized needing South Africa's help with the abducted children and strengthening cultural ties. Shows the priority even amidst the crisis.
On a different note, historically significant, exhumations have reportedly started in western Ukraine.
Of the Volyn massacre victims.
Yes, Polish victims. First time since 2017, apparently. That's a very sensitive historical issue for the region.
Mm-hmm. And internally in Russia, we heard former commander Popov was jailed for 5 years.
For fraud. Suggests maybe some internal issues or crackdowns within their military.
Internationally, the UK added something interesting to their sanctions list.
What's that?
Video game controllers. Banning their export to Russia because they're being used to operate drones.
Wow. Targeting specific components like that. There's also that report about the Irpin mayor.
Allegedly smuggling cars disguised as humanitarian aid. He denied it, of course.
Yeah, but those kinds of allegations, true or not, can really damage trust in genuine aid efforts.
Definitely. Zelensky also made a point recently saying that Ukraine even being willing to hold talks with Russia is already, quote, a big compromise.
Underscores their position, given everything that's happened.
And then you have the rhetoric from the Russian side. Shoigu reportedly threatening Europe with nuclear weapons over unfriendly actions.
And saying any European peacekeepers would be seen as a provocation, just dialing up the tension.
Standard playbook, perhaps. but still chilling to hear.
Now, briefly, there's been talk swirling, mentioned in the ISW report, about a potential U.S. peace proposal.
Right, the supposed 7-point plan.
Yeah, involving things like U.S. recognition of Crimea as Russian, continued occupation of other areas. It's crucial to stress this is not officially confirmed at all.
No, absolutely not confirmed. But the fact that it's being discussed, even unofficially or as a leak, is significant in itself.
It suggests potential shifts, or at least trial balloons, in how some might be thinking about ending the war, even if the terms are highly controversial.
And likely unacceptable to Ukraine, based on everything they've said. So a really complex picture. Rising human costs, intense fighting, diplomatic moves, swirling rumors.
It's a lot to track, and it changes fast. We'll keep watching it.
We certainly will.
Slava Ukraini.
Heroyam Slava.
For Nafa Langley, I'm Wayne.
And I'm Susan. This has been Ukraine Today.